Here we are, AEW Double or Nothing, live from Las Vegas, Nevada, May 28th, 2023. I had a lot of high hopes going into this pay-per-view. I was hoping Tony Khan would pull it together and wouldn't disappoint, but it's Tony Khan. We had the buy-in trios match to start the night out on the pre-show. The Guns and Ethan Page versus Hook and the Hardys. And let me preface this by saying I'm not a fan of the Guns. I'm definitely not a fan of the Hardys, never really have been. While I acknowledge their contributions to professional wrestling, they are well past their born-on date. Jeff especially. Matt looks like he still has some gas in the tank. Jeff is just sad, and we'll talk about his botch later on in the night. So Hook made Page tap out after Jeff and Matt hit dueling twists of fate. Not a good match. The Guns had Matt cut off for a while. Hook is utterly insufferable and completely unbelievable against anyone because he's smaller than a barista serving me a $14 coffee. Jeff Hardy had a monumental botch, which I mentioned earlier, when he went for a whisper in the wind and fell off the top rope, and it looked terrible. And it's a reason why Jeff Hardy does not belong in a wrestling ring anymore. So as I mentioned, Hook made Ethan Page tap out. It was stupid. It really belittles Ethan Page's work, who I think Ethan Page could be a upper mid-card guy if he cut his physique up a little bit. If he toned up, and he would be good. The guy's got solid in-ring work. His promos are serviceable. They could get a little bit better, but I really like him. He's got a damn good look, like I said. And seeing Hook make him tap out is just, it's hilarious. Like I said, every time I see Hook or any of these other little shits, it just reminds me of like fighting my 8-year-old son. But so we go into the very first match of the pay-per-view, the first official match, which is the Blackjack Battle Royal. We have Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, Bandito, Ari Daivari, Tony Nese, Josh Woods, Lee Moriarty, Big Bill, Commander, Butcher, Blade, Kip Sabian, Juice Robinson, Switchblade Jay White, Dustin Rhodes, Keith Lee, Ricky Starks, Ray Phoenix, Penta, Brian Cage, and Swerve Strickland, and of course Orange Cassidy. And I don't really want to report or talk about this match until we get down to the final four, which were Penta, Swerve, Orange, and Bill. And I pretty much called this last night during the pay-per-view. The writing was on the wall for this. As soon as you got down to that final four, you knew Orange Cassidy wasn't losing this belt because Tony Khan is insistent that Orange Cassidy get over, which I don't understand it. He's not, I don't like Orange Cassidy because he exposes the business in the worst possible ways. In a day and age where kayfabe is all but dead, Orange Cassidy does his best to kill what's left of it. Bill eliminated Penta. Swerve eliminated Bill. Orange eliminated Swerve in what was a pathetic excuse for a finish, and there is no way that Cassidy should have retained this belt. The finish was just another example of, as I said earlier, Cassidy exposing the business in the worst way. Your winner, and still AEW International Champion, Orange Cassidy, and I give this match 1 out of 5 stars. It was not good in any way. The finish was screwed, and you're jobbing out Big Bill again. Yeah, he made it to the final four, but you're not. This guy deserves to have a belt. And if you don't want to put a heavyweight title on him, put this one on him. You know, let him have a good run with this one, and don't make him look like a joke when he wrestles guys that weigh 160 pounds. Match number 2, Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole, with Sabu as the special enforcer in the Unsanctioned Match. And let me just start out by saying, as somebody who worked shows for a couple of years with Sabu, I hate him. I have no love for that man. I don't care about him. I lost all my respect for him years ago, and moving forward, any involvement AEW has with him is just ridiculous. Out of all the wrestlers they could have brought in for that role, they brought in Sabu, which he must have begged because he needed money. The Jericho Appreciation Society came down with Chris. Roderick Strong, of course, came down with Adam Cole. And in just the complete emasculation of Adam Cole, Britt Baker came out with a Singapore cane and was beating on Jericho. Again, completely emasculating Adam Cole, making him look weak as fuck. which is nothing that his physique doesn't already do for him, because he doesn't look like he belongs anywhere near a wrestling ring. Cole is embarrassing. He doesn't look like a worker, and this match exposed him for how bad he is. The crowd was pretty much, I don't know, they a few spots, I guess, made a little bit of noise, but they were sitting on their hands a lot through the course of the night. The finish, Adam Cole went over when Jericho couldn't defend himself. Roderick Strong, the Jericho Appreciation Society, they all disappeared. Britt ended up leaving. The finish to the match, as I said, Cole beat Jericho until he couldn't defend himself. And this is bad. I worry about Adam Cole's health with the concussion issues. As somebody who's had a couple, I worry about him long term and the effects it's going to have, because he's relatively young still. I don't understand why Britt Baker has to be the center of attention and interject herself into this. I mean, kayfabe, I understand the storyline. Trust me, I understand it. It just makes Adam Cole look weak to have his girlfriend come out and have to save him like that. It's pathetic. Do you see back in the day, Gorilla Monsoon or the Sheik having a woman come out and beat their opponent with a cane, a Singapore cane, to defend him? I don't. The match was bad. I give this one, again, this wasn't a battle royal. We'll go 1.5 stars out of 5. Match number 3, the AEW Tag Team Titles with Mark Briscoe as the special guest referee. Now, we have a lot of heat here between Lethal and Jarrett, who are the challengers. They come out with, of course, Zippy, Karen Jarrett, formerly Angle, and Sanjay Dutt, the original player from the Himalayas. And then, of course, they are going up against the champions, FTR, Cash, and Dax. And I really, really, really like FTR. I think Dax is beyond working singles matches now, because that match with Jarrett really exposed. He's moving a step slower, but the guy's had a lot of injuries. They are two of the most talented workers on the card. I really, really respect their work. And Lethal and Jarrett the same way. Jeff Jarrett is 55 years old, and he looks better than most of the guys on the roster. Jay Lethal, again, another guy who's in his late 30s to possibly early 40s and looks to be in phenomenal shape. This was a great match, easily match of the night contender as I was writing this last night, but I honestly think this was probably the best match of the night. Storytelling, psychology, in-ring work, keeping the crowd involved in it. It was just, it had all the components. I really wish Mark Briscoe would get a title push. I really see a problem with the baby faces in AEW right now, the top baby faces, and Briscoe could be one of those easily. Let's go. This has, as I said, 4 of the best pure wrestlers and entertainers and storytellers. They're in this match. The crowd popped for Cash tagging in Dax on the hot tag. Briscoe kicked Sanjay and Zippy out from ringside. Let's see. Jeff Jarrett hit Briscoe with a guitar. And then Dax's reaction, him standing there with his hand over his mouth and kind of awe of that, I thought it was a bit ridiculous. He should have immediately went after Jarrett. But even as a babyface, he could have done that, and it would have been fine. Karen Jarrett hitting Aubrey with the guitar, and then Karen falling over while she hit Aubrey with the guitar was a highlight. That was hilarious. Karen Jarrett is a true Karen, and she adds something to this. It's a little bit of spice in the sauce. She doesn't have to do too much. So we go into the finish, and Jeff Jarrett hit the stroke on Dax Harwood, but he got into it with a still dazed Briscoe, who was recovering from the guitar shot, and that allowed FTR to hit their double team finisher on Jarrett to retain their AEW Tag Team titles. While I wanted to see Jarrett and Lethal win, this was still a great match, and I don't mind FTR having the belts. I much prefer them with the belts, honestly, because they are a team that can carry them and, make them more credible. That's not that Jarrett and Lethal couldn't, but Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler are a pair of wrestlers. And this was a complete and actual match compared to a flippy spot fest, which we normally see from AEW. I am a tag team wrestling fan. I was a tag team wrestler for the most part. This was an excellent tag team match. I will give this match 4 out of 5 stars because Jarrett, Lethal, Dax, and Cash really knew how to work this. Minimal outside interference. You had a little fuckery with Dutt and Aubrey and Karen, but overall, great match. 4 out of 5 stars. Match number 4 on the card, the AEW TNT title ladder match. Christian Cage with Luchasaurus, the challenger, taking on Wardlow, the champion. And Wardlow should be a star. He has everything he needs to succeed. With that being said, he shouldn't be in a ladder match. Wardlow did look good in the early going with no real high spots, just some power moves using the ladder. But as the match wore on, obviously they had to start using the ladders more. And Cage evaded a table spot with Wardlow ready to jump from the top rope to the outside. But didn't materialize. Cage got up, jumped off the tables. That'll come back into play later on. Cage did his best to keep Wardlow out of his element, but they still aren't booking Wardlow to look strong enough. This last year at Double or Nothing, Wardlow just destroyed MJF. And this year he had trouble with Christian Cage, which makes no sense. That makes about as much sense as a 125-pound Tessa Blanchard hitting a Canadian destroyer on Brian Cage. But that's neither here nor there nor anywhere. Tony, monoTony, my brother, called it correctly. This match would have been more effective as a squash in favor of Wardlow. Wardlow jumped from the ladder to catch Christian and hurt his ankle in an infuriating spot that should have never happened. I had no idea why he was doing that. It's not like he couldn't touch the floor. It was just for aesthetics, and it ended up injuring his ankle slightly. I don't know the severity of that. Any hopes it's not a high ankle sprain, though. Wardlow hit a swanton off about a 15-foot ladder onto Luchasaurus in another stupid, unnecessary spot. Yeah, it looked great, but honestly, it's going to shorten your career in the back end. So not worth it. Not worth it for a guy that should be being able to wrestle a match, tell a story, and not have to do this dumb shit to get over because he's already over. They just need to book him better. Wardlow caught Christian jumping off the ladder. He hit him with a powerbomb, climbed the ladder, got the belt, and retained his title. So Wardlow retains. The match wasn't great. I really like to see Wardlow do well. I want to see him just skyrocket to the top because the guy deserves it. He has everything that you need to be a star in this business. Absolutely everything outside of the bookers having his back. That being said, I would give this match, I would go 2.5 stars out of 5 on Wardlow retaining his TNT title over Christian Cage in the ladder match. Match number 5 now, the AEW Women's Championship. Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter, the challenger. Toni Storm, champion Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter, like I said, her run has been marred with injuries, and she came out being beaten on by Ruby and Saraya, and they attacked Hayter's shoulder outside the ring using the stairs to do a running kick to her injured shoulder. Britt ran down and attacked Saraya. Sheeta came out with the cane and attacked Ruby. And the finish, after a decent match, Hayter really put the injury over, and it was just clearly obvious that there was no way she was going to retain in this match. You know, a few nice little hope spots for her, but I really hope she heals up and comes back. And Toni Storm went over. She hit her pile driver and pinned, and that was it. She won the match. It was a relatively quick match. I'm going to go this one. I'll go 1.5 out of 5 on this. Nothing spectacular. I feel bad for Toni Storm not being able to win the title like against a legitimately healthy opponent. If the original plan was to put her over. I have more anger directed at the women's booking, which we'll talk about here after match number 6. The Trios Championship. This is a House of Black rules open challenge match. So the House of Black led down to the ring by the gorgeous Julia Hart, Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King came down, and their opponents were the Acclaimed Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, and of course Daddy Ass Billy Gunn. I don't like the Acclaimed at all. I don't like the Acclaimed. This match should have been a squash. The styles and the aesthetics of this, And the way the House of Black is, they should have been booked way stronger and should have just squashed the Acclaimed. But again, Tony Khan insists on people liking the Acclaimed. I don't know why. They're not that good of a tag team anyway. House of Black needed to look more dominant. It was more competitive than it should have been. The Acclaimed are not in their league at all with this team, and they should have gotten destroyed completely, as I said. The result was Malico KO'd Gunn with a kick and pinned to retain via pinfall in a match that drug out too long without, like I said, House of Black looking nearly as dominant as they should have. But I did enjoy this one. I'll go because House of Black retained, which they very well should have. 3.5 stars out of 5 for this one. Match number 7 now. My girl, Jade Cargill, defending her TBS championship. Her win streak of 59-0 against a more than competent challenger in Taya Valkyrie. And these two are both absolute stars. The problem with Jade is her in-ring work is so bad right now. It's so bad. She's been in for 3 years, and it's make or break time now. She needed to lose that title so she can improve, because I really feel that she was not going to grow while she had that belt. She was simply coming out and squashing local talent and, you know, some of the regulars on the women's side of the roster. To what? What does that do for her? You're coming out, your entrance takes longer than your match. You're hitting 2 or 3 moves sloppily at that most of the time, and it's over, and you learn nothing and you glean nothing from that. So I love Jade. I think Jade is a absolute goddess, but she needs work, and that's not lost on me. I really think, and we talked about this last night, Chris and Tony and Vinny and Draven and I, that she needs to go to Japan, learn how to work strong style, learn how to be a bit more humble, and come back and show us what she's got. I really think that could help her come back in as a babyface. This match, Taya Valkyrie, I don't want to short sell Taya Valkyrie. She should have went over. Taya Valkyrie should have won the title here. This woman deserves the title. She is a star. She is a draw. She has a look. She has the personality. She has that it factor. Jade's entrance was ridiculous, but her dance moves were on point. We're going to go and just run through my notes here on the match. You can tell that Taya has to wrestle at a slower pace to make up for Jade's inexperience, which I spoke to at the beginning when I was kind of talking about Jade and, prefacing this match. Jade, and I said this earlier, she's gorgeous, has an amazing body. Her work is shite, and she can't even pull off the most basic of moves sometimes without looking like she has to think about it. The muscle memory should be there after 3 years. She shouldn't have kicked out of the Road to Valhalla. And then she comes right back and hits the exact same move on Valkyrie and pins her. And that's your finish. Jade wins by pinfall and retains. And then Mark, her spokesman or whatever his name is, I can't remember his last name, he gets on the microphone, calls out anybody, blah, blah, blah. Music hits. Out comes the returning from injury Chris Statlander, who comes in to beat Cargill via a tombstone, ending Jade's undefeated streak at 60. And Chris Statlander comes right back in and wins the TBS championship just like that. Taya Valkyrie has been here working these shows and, working this angle with Jade. And where's the thank you? Because she's a vet. Where's the thank you? Where's the rub for her? Nothing. They give the belt to Statlander, which I'm not, I shouldn't say that because I don't dislike Chris Statlander. It just seems disrespectful, and this is another issue with booking. Overall, this entire segment gets 1 out of 5. You have essentially nerfed Taya Valkyrie's finisher. Jade got hit with it, kicked out, then immediately hit the exact same finisher on Taya and pinned her. You have nerfed Taya Valkyrie's finisher. You should have put the belt on her, but instead you gave it to somebody just because they were returning from injury. And I mean, the crowd popped a little bit, but this entire segment is a 1 out of 5, and I feel like I'm being overly harsh on this, but at the same time, you can't expect a high score when the result is, and it's not that, and like I said, I'm a fan of Jade's, but she didn't need to have the title, but Chris Statlander didn't either. Taya Valkyrie, a much better representative as TBS champion, in my opinion anyway. Match number 9 coming up. the AEW World Championship match, the Four Pillars match. Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin versus the champion Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And MJF yelling "you're a fucking idiot" before getting super kicked was great. I'm just going to run through some points here. They did that ridiculous human centipede spot in the middle of the ring. That was absolutely stupid when they all had their little like submissions locked on. That was ridiculous. Canadian Destroyers are now just an average move. They're no longer a finisher. I just want you guys to know that. When you're pulling off 4 Canadian Destroyers in the middle of a match, I don't ever want to see anybody use that as a finisher again. That is now as common as a chin lock. Like, this is what this kind of wrestling, the damage it does. And people don't understand that because they're too busy cheering for stupid high spots that don't make any sense. This match had little to no psychology in a lot of it. It was just a spot fest. The highlight was MJF eye-poking everyone and then flipping off the crowd for me. That was a highlight of the match. MJF was the shining star in this, of course, and kayfabe hurt his wrist on the top rope powerbomb on the Darby Allin, which is horrible for AEW depending on if it's a kayfabe or a shoot injury. MJF put the belt on Jungle Boy, laid it across him. Darby hit a coffin drop onto the belt, then pinned Darby with a headlock, which was hilarious because Darby said he was going to pin him with a headlock takeover. And that's how MJF retained his title, after Darby hit his stupid coffin drop onto the belt when it was laid out across Jungle Boy, and Sammy was laid out outside the ring. So, yeah, the match was a clusterfuck. It really exposed a bunch of problems, which is a lack of actual competition there is for MJF at the top. There's no real babyface contenders for the title. There isn't. You've got a bunch of lightweight guys that Tony Khan insists on booking in the main event picture that couldn't carry water. It's pretty sad. But, I mean, I will give this match 3.5 out of 5. Despite how bad I thought it was, MJF really, really, really put this thing over. The second of 2 main events, Anarchy in the Arena, featuring The Elite, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, a.k.a. Dollar Store Snake Plissken, and then Nick and Matt, the Young Bucks, versus the Blackpool Combat Club, Wheeler Yuta, Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Bryan Danielson. The band playing throughout the match was fucking insufferable. But the Bucks super kicking the lead singer was absolutely gold. It was the best part because I hate that song. And hearing it as if it were New Jack and Natural Born Killers is an earworm that I can't get rid of. The match was a hot mess, though. The exploding super kick was dumb as fuck. Which is Matt that did the exploding super kick spot. Stupid got a heel full of thumbtacks, a mouthful of tacks. And then, of course, Takeshita came out and helped the Blackpool Combat Club as Yuta hit his finisher and pinned Omega to win the match. This match did not need to be the main event. It should not have been the main event. They're all over the place. It makes no sense. And it was nothing, of course, but a spot fest so Moxley could bleed. Of course, I was shocked he wasn't bleeding when they walked down to the ring already. The Bucks are utterly worthless. They are a detriment to everything that pro wrestling is. Omega and Page are great with their high spots, but that's not a sustainable model given all the injuries that Kenny Omega has suffered. So for this match, I don't know. I'll rank this in a minute, but Claudio is a star, but always gets booked to middling results. Danielson's a solid worker, but aging, and he's got a lot of nagging injuries. Moxley's just trash, plain and simple. I'm not a Moxley fan. He's not a star you build around, really. He's not. Wheeler Yuta is a good young talent with promise, but the tough guy act isn't him. It's not. Takeshita is a beast, and if they build him properly, dude's a main event talent, hands down, no questions asked. So I would give the Anarchy in the Arena match 2 out of 5 stars. 2 out of 5 stars, nothing special. This is my kind of questions. Where are they going with this angle? Is this the blow-off for the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, because it seems like they'd have more to settle now given the finish of the match. The pay-per-view truly exposed all of AEW's shortcomings as a company, and Tony Khan's need for a actual booker or a booking committee, especially since you've gotten 5 hours of television to fill per week now, with 2 hours of Dynamite, an hour of Rampage, and 2 hours of Collision. Khan books his product like he's a kid setting up a match card on Raw vs. SmackDown. Everything is a gimmick match, and you just need some good old-fashioned one-on-one matches. That can get your show over. Trust me, it can work. There's a lot of questions moving forward. Unfortunately, the answers are written in crayon while Tony Khan does blow off the gorilla position table. Jade Cargill needs to go to Japan. I mentioned that. Honercraft, she's a star, but only she can improve that in-ring work vastly. Match of the night, of course, Jay Lethal and Jarrett versus FTR, who retained. The AEW title match was an utter disappointment, as I said, outside of MJF. So this card wasn't that great. I had such high hopes for this after last year. If I had to give this pay-per-view an overall grade and keep all the things that I've mentioned here tonight in mind as I'm formulating my grade for this pay-per-view, overall, on a 1 to 5, I would give this pay-per-view a solid 2 stars out of 5 tonight. There's promise, but room for improvement, and that's my final thoughts. But that's it, folks. I'm done. Let me know what you guys think. I'll be back this Wednesday for Dynamite. I'm Etep from the Place to Be Reviews. I've been here with all of you. If I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and I'll catch you on the next one.